Hello dear students. Let's continue our chapter number 5, Substances in the Surroundings, Their States and Properties. This is our fourth part. In the last part we learn change of state of substances, the temperature and the thermometer, boiling, freezing, sublimation. Today we will see properties of substances. Can you tell children, how will you identify the following? A glass, is it made of plastic, steel or glass? A rod, is it made up of iron or aluminium? A door is of wooden or glass? White powder, salt or chalk powder? To answer these questions, you consider their properties. Example, their transparency, hardness, weight, color, the sound produced from it, solubility in water, etc. Substances can be identified by studying their properties. They can be put to use according to their properties. Let's study the properties of substances in greater detail. Properties of substances. See the first property of substance. Observe. Brittle. Brittle means easily broken or crack, or we can make very fine powder very easily. What will happen if pressure is applied on substances like chalk, brick, glass or rajgira vadi? These substances break into small pieces or particles. Such substances are said to be brittle, and this property of substances is called brittleness. So, first property of substance is brittleness. Next property, hardness. Let's define the hardness. The property of resisting other substances is called hardness. Take an iron nail. Try to pierce a cardboard sheet, wet mud and a piece of wood using the nail. What happens? Which three things I told? Cardboard sheet, wet mud and a piece of wood. Take iron nail and pierce all these three things and observe what happens. The nail easily pierces wet mud. See in the picture? But not the piece of wood. It can pierce the cardboard sheet with some efforts. Why does this happen? See, the hardness of a substance is determined by how much resistance it offers to the substances being pushed through it. So, we can define like this. The property of resisting other substances is called hardness. Means hardness of a substance is determined by how much resistance it offers to the substances being pushed through it. Which is the hardest known substance? Diamond. Diamond is the hardest known substance. See the third property, elasticity. We can define elasticity. See, returning back to their original shape and size upon withdrawal of force or pressure is called elasticity. You can understand. See, stretch a rubber band and let it go, or apply pressure on a piece of sponge and release it. First of all, stretch a rubber band and release it. It will return back to their original shape. Then apply force on a sponge or piece of sponge and release it. What do you see? The rubber band and the sponge go back to their original shape. Some substances change their shape when a force is applied on them, but return to their original shape. Balloon also return to their original shape and size when the force is removed. Means when the pressure is removed, when the air is removed, it will take again its original shape. So this property is called elasticity. Rubber band, sponge, balloon, all are showing the elasticity property. It means returning back to their original shape and size upon withdrawal of force or pressure is called elasticity. This was third property. First, which one we learn? Brittleness. Second property, hardness. Third is elasticity. Fourth property, take a flat metal sheet of the size of a notebook. See in the picture, we are going to learn the fluidity property. Definition, first of all, I am telling to you, the property of flowing from the slope is called fluidity. So, what we take in? Flat metal sheet. Holding it at an angle. Put a drop of water, honey and gum. Which three things? Water, honey and gum at different places on the board. Observe how they flow down the slope. All material will flow down the slope, and this property is only known as fluidity. Means the property of flowing from the slope is called fluidity. Liquids flow downward on a sloping surface. This property is called fluidity. Water will flow very easily. The fluidity of any liquid is determined by how easily it flows. So, the gum and this what we take in, honey and water. So, water will flow very easily. So, fluidity of any liquid is determined by how easily it flows. Let's see the next property, densities. If two blocks of the same size, first of all, density, the property of density is because of mass of the substances. A substances with greater mass has a greater density. Take two blocks of the same size. One is wooden and the other one is iron block. So in the picture you can see one is wooden block and other one is iron block. Are weighed in a balance. How would they compare? The mass of the different substances having the same volume can be different. Same volume, same size, but mass is different. You can see in the picture which mass is greater. Obviously, iron mass is greater. So, density is also different. This difference is because of the difference in their densities. Between substances of the same volume, the one with greater density are heavier than those of lesser density. Which one is having lesser density? This wooden block, and iron block is having more density. So, the greater density are heavier than the lesser density. The property of density is because of mass of the substances. A substance with greater mass has a greater density. Now next property we are going to learn, solubility. Very simple. I think everyone children know the solubility. You know that salt when added in the water it will dissolve. This property only is called the solubility. See in the picture, sugar added in the water it will dissolve. Salt in water it will dissolve. It will disappear after some time. Okay. Kerosene is in water. See, not mixed, not soluble, means it is insoluble. So, next picture, soluble means dissolve. Example, salt in water. After some time it will dissolve and water will become salty. So, soluble means dissolve. Insoluble means does not dissolve. Example, sand in water. You just shake it and try, just give more time, then also sand will not dissolve in water, means it is insoluble, does not dissolve. So how we can define the property of substance to get dissolved? E is called solubility. And the substance that dissolve are called soluble substance, and those that are not dissolved are called insoluble substance. Take a glass of water, add some salt, fine sand and sugar to it and try to dissolve them. Repeat this, replacing water with kerosene. What do you observe? Some solid substances dissolve in a particular liquid. If a solid does not dissolve in a liquid, it is said to be insoluble in that liquid. Example, salt is soluble in water but insoluble in kerosene. You know of many beverages. Beverages means cold drinks. Which one? Suppose Pepsi, Coca-Cola, all these we can tell as beverage made by using water and soluble substances. The property of substance of getting dissolved is called its solubility. Everyone understand? Just try to understand. The property of substance of getting dissolved is called its solubility. Next property, when we can see through a substance and see things on the other side, then that substance is said to be transparent. Means when we look through a substance and see things on the other side, that substance is called transparent, and this property of the substance is called transparency. See in the picture, glass, clean water, then plastic holders. Through it we can see the other things also, other side also. So these things are called transparent things, and this property of substance is called transparency. Glass, some types of plastic, clean water, air are transparent substances. Thank you. Substances like copper, gold, iron, aluminium are called metals. Metals are found in the form of minerals deep inside the earth. Minerals from the earth crust are processed to obtain the metal. In daily life, metals have very important uses. Let us study some common properties of metals. So, let's start our first property of metals, malleability. Take a piece of copper or aluminium wire or a small nail. Hammer it repeatedly. What do you observe? On hammering repeatedly, the wire becomes flat. That is, it forms a thin sheet. Metals can be converted into sheets by hammering. This property of metals is called malleability. So we can define like this: metals can be converted into sheets by hammering. This property of metals is called malleability. Next property is ductility. Metals can be stretched and drawn into wires. This property of metals is called ductility. Metals like silver, gold, copper, platinum can be drawn into fine wires. We can make very fine wires by using this property. Means metal can be stretched and drawn into wires. This property of metals is called ductility. Third property is electrical conductivity. Electricity flows through metals. All metals are conductors of electricity to a greater or lesser extent. This property is called electrical conductivity. Means through metals electricity conduct. All metals are conductors of electricity. Copper is a good conductor of electricity. Even when a piece of metal is heated at one place, the whole of it becomes hot. It shows that metals allow heat to flow through them. This property is called thermal conductivity. So, metals allow heat to flow. This property is called thermal conductivity. Next property is luster or characteristics color. Metals have a typical shine or luster. Every metal has a characteristic color by which it can be identified. You can identify gold or not? Yes, very easily. So all metals are of different color. So different colors, shine, luster. So we can identify. Next is plug the string of a musical instruments like tanpura or veena, ring a bell or hit a steel box with a metal spoon or strike a wooden table or a marble floor with a wooden stick. Note the difference in the sounds produced in these two cases. Metals produce a ringing sound. This property is called the sonority of metals. So this is the sixth property. Which one? Sonority of metals. Metals produce a ringing sound, different sound. This property is called the sonority of metals. So we learn the properties of metals. First one is malleability, means we can make the metals, we can convert it into sheets by hammering. And next one is the ductility, means metals we can convert into wires, very thin wires we can make. Then third property we learn electrical conductivity, means metals are the conductor of electricity. Electricity flows through metals. Then fourth property we learn thermal conductivity, means metals, through metals heat can flow, metals allow heat to flow. Then we learn the all metals are having typical shine or luster. So that characteristic colors. Next property we learn sonority of metals. Metals produce a ringing sound. So always remember, during the rainy season or at any other time, do not touch the exposed electric wires or metal parts. Keep all electric lamps or other appliances switched off when not in use. For example, even when the TV is switched off by remote control, don't forget to put off the main switch. It helps to save electricity besides protecting us from any possible danger. Ask your seniors at home to check the electric wirings and fittings in the house periodically. Okay, in this lesson what we have learned? Solids, liquids and gases are the three states of substances. The temperature of a substance can be measured with the help of thermometer. Heat is the cause of the change of state of substances. Substances have various properties like hardness, elasticity, brittleness, fluidity, density, solubility and transparency. Metals form a separate group of substances. Metals have common properties like malleability, ductility, thermal conductivity, electrical conductivity, sonority, luster and characteristic color. Thank you, children.